Hello everyone, you're watching NewsTrack with me, Marya. Shakeel. 10 days into the winter session and Parliament has mostly been trading blows over Vande Mataram, SIR, electoral reforms, everything except the toxic air millions are forced to breathe outside those walls. Now, as the final week kicks in, the crisis choking Delhi and large parts of India might finally cut through the noise. The air emergency. Rahul Gandhi is reminded that pollution is killing Indians, young and old, and his push to rise above politics has nudged the government into agreeing into a discussion. All this even as the government insists it won't go by global air quality rankings and will stick to its own norms. WHO guidelines, the government says they are not mandatory, just advisory. So the question is, are these steps enough to take on a crisis of this scale, or have our netas woken up a little too late? That's the question that I'm going to ask to the panelists who will be joining me shortly. But first up, here's what happened today.
Nehru, Tagore, Vande Mataram, electoral reforms. All of these have echoed through the winter session so far, and justifiably so. But one burning issue, the one suffocating you, me, and the rest of the capital, and almost the entire country, has barely found a whisper. Pollution, the slow, silent killer. An air emergency claiming thousands every year, yet somehow not important enough to feature on Parliament's priority list. Only after nationwide outrage and relentless India Today coverage have our busy netas finally bothered to focus on a most fundamental right, the right to breathe. Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi was the first to break the silence, warning the House about the poisonous air we are all forced to breathe and demanding a proper debate.
Everybody in this House would agree that air pollution, the damage it is doing to our people, is something that we would like to cooperate on. I think the government should have a discussion in Parliament. We should all have a discussion in Parliament. And we should try and not make it a discussion where we are abusing you and you are abusing us.
And in a rare show of unity, the government has agreed to consider it.
Government from the day one had made our position very clear that on all important matters, government is ready to discuss and also to find out solution, taking along the suggestions from all the members, including the principal opposition party led by Rahul Gandhi ji.
So far, pollution has made its presence felt only through symbolism. Congress MPs arriving with masks, cylinders and props to highlight the air emergency.
मैं पूरी तरह से सहमत हूँ और मेरे ख्याल से सब सहमत हैं। सरकार ने भी कहा हम सबको डिस्कस करना चाहिए और एक एक्शन प्लान बनना चाहिए। बहुत हो गया है और बहुत हर साल बढ़ते जा रहा है।
But here's the bitter question. Will one token discussion change anything? Will a single session magically fix years of apathy and denial? Because even as the cities choke, the centre insists it will follow its own air norms, not global data. The government maintains that WHO's air quality guidelines are just advisory, not standards India must honour. And to defend that stand, the Environment Minister claimed in Parliament that Delhi's AQI from January to November has been the best in years. A debate on pollution is a good start. But let's be honest, it's literally one step in the many required to make us breathe easy, quite literally. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me on the show tonight, Vimlendu Jha, environmentalist. We have Bhavya from the Congress Party, and Dr. Anil Gupta is part of the Delhi BJP board member of CPCB. Before I bring in the politicians, I want to understand from you, Vimlendu Jha, when the government now says that India will set its own air standards, global rankings, not official, what does it actually mean? Are we running away from the truth? Not ready to face the truth?
So yes, Marya, in that one breath, when the government has actually agreed to have a discussion on air pollution issue, conceding, ideally the government should have done this suo moto. You don't need a politician of any political party to remind the government that this is the most urgent issue. In the same breath, the government is saying that the standards of Europe or America or of WHO or of IQ Air doesn't apply to India, as if Indian lungs, breathe something different. And also, it has said just a couple of days ago that nobody in India actually dies because of air pollution or falls unwell at all. And while the government admitted position, or the amicus admitted position in Supreme Court has been that the air quality monitors shut down at the peak of pollution, still the average and what the environment minister is saying, that we have actually fared better than last year. So if you turn off the air quality monitors, if you sprinkle water on air quality monitors, when you say that nobody dies or nobody falls ill, when the world's most reputed health organization called Lancet tells you that 1.5 million people die each year because of air pollution, when you know that already India's PM 2.5 standard is, and other standards are 8 times higher than WHO, and now
Yes.
we're saying that we don't even believe in those standards at all. So
Yes.
in a way, glad that this discussion should happen, because this is a bipartisan, multi-partisan, it's an issue that it should affect everybody, and there should be a consensus. High time that country should fight this all together, rather than,
Absolutely.
it's not a BJP
It should,
versus.
absolutely. It's not BJP versus the Congress, BJP versus the Aam Aadmi Party, because you cannot blame any of the neighboring states. The air quality seems to be bad in just about every metropolitan city, and that's the concerning part here. Dr. Anil Gupta, Der Aaye Durust Aaye would be the larger sentiment, but is the Delhi government also ready to share the blame, the BJP government in Delhi, that you made tall promises when you came to power, but now you are also shifting blame just as your predecessor did?
No, we are not shifting the blames to anybody. We are working on the dust mitigation. We are working to control the air pollution. We don't say that we have control, but we are working on this. And whatever the Honorable Environment Minister has mentioned in the Parliament, he just compared the figures with the previous years. And definitely, if you take the figures from February to September, the AQIs was better. And from October, November, and this is December, if you take the AQI readings, it was better than the previous years. The work done by the Delhi government for dust mitigation should be appreciated. And we have a lot more to done. I'm not saying the solution is there, but we need some more time. It is not a one-day job to clean the air. We are working on this. If you give me the time, I will narrate all the points which we have undertaken. We
Yes,
have
but yes, you may be speaking about what all you have done, but the sense is that India has taken its position in global indices such as IQ Air's World Air Quality Ranking, the WHO Global Air Quality Database, the Environmental EPI, which is the Environmental Performance Index, the Global Burden of Disease Metrics, and the Environment Ministry has said no official country-wise pollution ranking is carried out worldwide. So you are essentially dismissing all the parameters which were so far used to measure pollution.
See, India has the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, which were formed in 2009. There are 12 parameters into that. And for measurement of the AQI, we take into consideration the 8 parameters. These are the established percent. And we take the WHO standards as the advisory one also. And we should have trust on our, India is a developing country. It is not a developed country. That time the Congress government was there. Still, that practice is there. But if the parliamentarian discuss something and they come out with something new, government, I think, is acceptable to the idea. But we should not say that the world standards are better as compared to India's. Whatever you have mentioned, they are the private agencies. India has one of the best parameters you can calculate.
But if you look at the thick smog, which has engulfed the entire national capital region, we cannot say that the standards by which so far the pollution was being measured is incorrect. If you're not able to clean up the air, then that should be the effort rather than dismissing the data which has been put out, is my limited point here, Dr. Gupta. I'm going to come to you. But Bhavya, effort which has been made by the leader of opposition here, and you would say it's well taken, because it is a bipartisan issue. It cannot be division, along party lines. A bad air quality affects everyone.
Yeah. So this is like every party in India should come outside their ideological, this comes under everyone's ideology. There's no boundary of ideology when it comes to such issues. Air pollution, that too in the capital city of India, this is something very concerning and very embarrassing at a global level. And the future of India, our children are breathing this air. I have read somewhere that, even smoking in another city is better than breathing in Delhi. That is the standard Delhi has been reduced to right now, the air quality in Delhi. We definitely appreciate the fact that Center has agreed to come out and discuss this issue in the parliament. But is that enough? Like you pointed out, just a discussion is not enough. We need to see actions. We need to see, right now we are saying, yes, we will be with the center, we will discuss, and we actually need a city-wise plan. It's not just we're going to only concentrate on Delhi. We don't want this situation to come up again in another state of India, a developing state or a developed state or whichever state in India. So we need a city-wise plan so that we know what are the causes of this air pollution in each city and we can come up with a solution. But if center doesn't, if it brushes off like every other issue, or say things like, WHO standards are not binding on us, they're just mandatory. Come on, like, first thing is the Delhi government tried even faking the AQI index, air quality index once. But to say something like this is not acceptable. The standards need to be definitely high at any cost. If our standard is better than a world standard, then yes, we accept it. But please do not reduce the standard and
But the
say that
point
we are
that
going to
has been
only match
made
this.
by the Minister of State for Environment, Mr. Kirti Vardhan Singh, is also worth watching and considering here, Bhavya, irrespective of the treasury benches and the logic which is coming from them. They are saying that the WHO's guidelines are meant to help countries set their own standards. Okay. Goes on to talk about that taking into account geography, environmental conditions, background levels and national circumstances. So perhaps the WHO guidelines are more like an advisory. So the government of India, which should have happened in the past, my question is that why are we waking up to these WHO guidelines now?
Guidelines now. Exactly. My question is, no matter what standards, today if you see Delhi, it's far below any standard that even you set or any other countries can set or even the WHO has set. Now to talk about this only shows like, we are not committed to reduce the pollution. Instead, make sure the standard will match the pollution. That's not how it works. Right now, concentrate on reducing this pollution, keep the highest standard so that we will reach it someday in some years at least, if not tomorrow. When you set your standard, it should always be higher.
As a concerned citizen and also as an environmentalist, we'll all be looking forward to this discussion. Finally, the parliamentarians are waking up to an issue which affects us on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute-by-minute basis. I'm sitting inside my office. All of you are in closed spaces. But imagine what it will take when you step out. You are breathing poison. That's the concern for every Delhiite, all of us who live in the NCR region. But, politicians discussing it in parliament, what will we be really achieving here, Vimlendu?
So I'll tell you what will we achieve. Right now, there's a deficit of political will, and therefore it also means when we actually show our inclination or interest or intent in terms of political will, then that would mean that our investment, first of all, for air quality governance will increase. India spends 20,000 crores over 6 years across 130 cities for air quality governance. Versus each time we talk about Beijing was actually spending 1 billion to 2 billion US dollars per year for air quality. So when you actually make it a national issue, because the other issue, Marya, is that Delhi gets disproportionate attention vis-a-vis air quality. Reality is that air of entire India, almost 90% of India's air, actually falls under poor category, very poor, severe, or severe plus. So my thing is that at the end of the day, we cannot find private solution to a public problem, and we actually have to find a public solution, and public solution can only be found from the Parliament of India rather than a legislative assembly of Haryana or of Delhi or of Uttar Pradesh. Because You and I, of course, talk about Noida, Gurgaon, Delhi, and so on and so forth. We talk about air quality monitors of Delhi not working or whatever that Mr. Gupta would talk about. Reality is that 50% of CPCB and state pollution control boards don't have their manpower there. So we don't have budget, we don't have governance infrastructure, we don't have data. In fact, 70% of Delhi, India's air is not even measured in reality. And therefore, I disagree with the Congress spokesperson saying that we need to have a city plan. No, we need to have a pan-India plan. Because you know what we'll end up doing, unfortunately, is we'll actually move out of Delhi to Delhi NCR. At best, we'll go to Indo-Gangetic Plain. At best, we'll actually keep fixing our city's air. And in this process, we'll keep doing one small band-aid to a little bigger band-aid, but it will remain band-aid solution. What India needs and what I want to really, invite Prime Minister Modi, and he can do it. Because if he wants to do it, he can do it in the next 10 years. If we actually invest in public transport regime, throughout the country, if you look at coal thermal power plants that actually contribute to almost 10 to 15% of ambient air quality, if you look at construction demolition norms, if we actually empower our pollution control boards, a lot of these things could be solved. So you know what? Sprinkling water, 90% of government's budget today, Marya, goes in sprinkling water over dust for overnight settling of dust rather than sorting of the source. So we're not really, all our India's budget actually goes in fixing the symptoms or fixing the data or fixing the perception rather than fixing the source of pollution. And really hope, and I'm so glad that there was no bickering in the parliament today when this issue came. And I do not care whether it was Rahul Gandhi who raised this issue or perhaps
Yes,
it could have been a
irrespective.
Sanjay Singh.
Yeah.
Any political party, every political party will have to discuss this. I have lost my voice for almost a week, and I'm sure you have too.
Absolutely. Dr. Anil Gupta.
See, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, these standards were framed in 2009. I just saw your screen before the start of the debate. Even today, there are several cities in the country which have the AQI of 50. There are several cities which have an AQI of 100. So, what even for Delhi NCR, we have a Commission for Air Quality Management. That is the only reason in the country which going for the imposition of the GRAP 1, 2, and 3. So Delhi has a plan. But what will happen for this change of these parameters? I know if the parliamentarian wants, they can go in for this thing.
Okay,
But
why is
still,
Vimlendu
but
disagreeing with what Dr. Gupta is saying?
So, right now when we talk about changing of parameters, how does it change the air? Changing the parameters just by changing the passing marks, does your exam result change? Just by changing the standard by, instead of 100 being a very poor, and that's exactly what we've done. India doesn't even measure air quality beyond 500. Can you imagine that? And the reason the government gives, the reason why our air quality monitors of the government, which are half the time shut down and sprinkled with water, they
no,
actually
no, no.
peak out at 500 because they say that there'll be panic in the world. So is 500 AQI and and 800 AQI the same? So we need to understand that data is very, very fundamental, Marya, for two prime reasons. One, data gives you a private advisory and public advisory for some sort of an emergency response, to put a band-aid, to really stop bleeding in that sense. That's one. Two, what data and acceptance of data or really honest intent of capturing data, what it tells you that over 12 months, you'll be able to understand that is it vehicles that pollutes? Is it winter that pollutes? Like right now, what Mr. Gupta was talking about, Delhi's air was really good. Of course, Delhi's air was really great in the month of June, primarily not because of governance, because it rained heavily this season. So the best good air day of Delhi was not because something great was done by our government. It was because the rain gods
Because of the rain
had some
gods
mercy.
blessed us. Dr. Gupta and Bhavya, I have 30 seconds for both of you. Dr. Gupta, go ahead.
See, let me first clarify. Nobody sprinkle water on air quality monitoring station. It is just the spreading of lies. You know, who can sprinkle water on the equipments? Delhi has a road network of 28,508 kilometers. For dust mitigation, these sprinkler machines which are there on the screen, they are there all over the cities just to control the dust mitigation. And not only the dust mitigation, we are controlling the source of the pollution also. We are lifting, this in 8 months, we have lifted an extra 30,000 metric tons of the dust from the roads, which is one of the source. And one more thing, this AQI has eight parameters. These 6 parameters are within range. It is only the particular matter 2.5 and 10, which is creating problem. And the government is doing enough on this. And we say it is not a one-day job. It will take some more time to do this dust mitigation. And if you say that only the parameter
Dr.
changing will...
Gupta, you know, multi-pronged strategy is needed, not just dust
That is true,
mitigation.
that is true.
Because, of course, dust may be the biggest contributor to pollution, but there are so many challenges. Yes, Vimlendu, you have a point again.
No, dust is not. PM10, please understand, PM2.5 is the most dangerous thing because PM2.5 particulate matter is 30 to 40 times smaller than human hair. And therefore, it actually affects your bloodstream. And therefore, right now, 90% of, all the RTI says that one, of course, there's very less spending. एक तो बहुत minuscule amount allocate करा है 3,000 crore per साल. उसमें से 90% majority doesn't get spent, and a lot is actually spent on sprinkling of water. That's not a solution. PM 2.5 is the main killing
PM
particulate matter,
2.5,
not
finally,
PM10.
the politicians are doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is an important discussion which should happen on pollution, which will take place because there is consensus. And I agree with Vimlendu, what it can lead to is some kind of, consensus around solution which is needed, and at the same time, political will. The politicians are talking about that political will, that they are looking for credible solutions, irrespective of the parties they're coming from.
So I totally agree with the environmentalist here, Vimlendu Jha, when he spoke about how we are actually concentrating on mitigating the symptoms and not actually working on the cause of this pollution so that we reduce the pollution. I totally agree with that. It's about a change in the perception of the government and the commitment. It just shows if you keep giving reasons like, no, we didn't sprinkle water, no, we didn't do this. No, please accept what is happening here. Just by changing the standards, you can't change the pollution levels here. It's about the people, it's about the children, and most importantly, like we just spoke, we are all sitting in these closed enclosure. I'm sitting in Bangalore, I'm not even being affected by this pollution, but I can only imagine Delhi, the rich people sitting in their AC cars, sitting in their AC houses, offices with air purifiers. What are the poor people going to do? If you compare the longest time, a poor person will definitely be breathing this air, this impure air. This is a matter of equality as well.
We have really come to the end of this discussion. We certainly look forward to that discussion because that's the need of the hour, as we have been saying. Vimlendu Jha, Dr. Gupta, Bhavya, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on this very important discussion. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.